Crypto market has become super bullish, especially with the XRP ruling. And XRP is one of the most bullish asset in the crypto market right now. The news, the narrative, the macro, everything aligns right now in front of us. We just watch how things are evolving, and that kind of creates speculation of what's about to happen. A settlement is coming in a month or two. That kind of thought process is now creeping into the market, and that can create more buying potential. But what's more important is about understanding the macro picture. If you actually take a step back and look at what we have seen, this was the time when XRP was about to be adopted by the world, and then you saw SEC coming in, doing that shapeshifter thing to give Ether some space. And right now, once that thing is cleared off, you're literally watching that same progress coming back into the market. What does that actually mean? In an era of central bank digital currency with all these giant banking institutions entering means heavily positive. But don't get confused with a domestic payment system and XRP. But what's more important is to understand how the SEC themselves look at this ruling. SEC themselves give you the idea that it's unfortunate that court just ruled on the secondary sales as not securities. So when you actually see media machine coming out and stating this is not what it is, this is what it is, blah, 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 you need to understand even the SEC understand that the judge's ruling is against them on the retail side of things, where you cannot actually take all the XRP and say that's a security. And that's one of the reasons why you're watching the open interest in XRP popping through the roof. This is not a small thing, and it has not happened for a long period of time. Now you're watching something changing. It's increasing from 200 million USD towards 800 million. And now, they're actually coming out with the staking in the BitTrue. So you actually understand that, okay, now the interest is increasing. Exchanges are offering you more value, and that's going to create additional interest. That means this asset now looks increasingly bullish, whether it's on a short term, whether it's on a macro term. The thought process here about a $10, $15, $20 XRP, which we were talking about, we just saw an individual talk about $16 XRP. And this guy is actually a serious guy. I've been listening to this guy maybe 6-7 years back while I was trading Forex. There's a CMT. That's a chartered market technician who understand the in and out of technical analysis. These are chartered guys, and this is their field. And when that kind of thought process shared here shows you a fractal, a pop, they are on it. They're talking about a $17, $18 XRP, 16.78 something, say $17 XRP. So from here, if you look at that, you're talking about another 20, 25x. And if your average is 0.3, you're about to see 30, 40x gains just in XRP. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. Right now, as you watch through the market, and as you look through the opportunities, you kind of get the understanding some of these assets are starting to get more and more volume. Some of them are starting to break higher. And it does show you that the market is moving money from one end to another as soon as it hits a target. So now it's starting to trend higher. This actually creates opportunities if you're focused on where these opportunities are arising and where you have that amount of volume, right? If you look at this era, you'll actually see these two gaining for the day with a huge lot of volume, right? If you actually keep this on the volume side of things, you'll actually watch like 1 inch moved yesterday. It got a lot of volume. Now you're watching GMT getting that volume, you're watching Luna getting that volume, and you're confused, right? Look for the breakouts and the volume. It kind of decides the direction, and we are doing that. We are trying to give you the right perspective at the right time before they even start moving. So you actually have a better understanding of the market. And the next day when you're watching the market and when you actually see that these assets are starting to run higher, it kind of gives you a better advantage in the market. It kind of gives you an additional points when the majority are looking for something positive. Say Gala is here. It's already starting to move. It's already starting to break out. So once you know where to position and where your targets are, this kind of gives you a better advantage. Now, jumping back into the thought process here. Now, here you actually discuss the statement through the actual fractal, right? And if you actually look through that, you understand one thing for sure. They are all talking about a $16.75 XRP. That's not a small thing. It's a huge price action. It's from here. Now, I think most of you guys who are listening to this would have an average of 0.3, 0.4 or below that, which actually mean that you guys are talking about a 40x price action here just with this price action move. Now, I think it can pop a little bit higher because when the price goes up, the FOMO with all these exchanges relisting, you're going to see a lot more FOMO. You're going to see a lot more high frequency trading bots, traders, all these guys entering as soon as it starts to take off, which can push it to $20, $25, $30. Who knows? We'll actually watch all those. But the primary thing is this thought process. We just had a breakout. Now, yes, it's a micro breakout, but it does show you a breakout, a retest, and right now it is trying to bounce off. Say that's a micro. What are you looking at? It's not a huge price action, yeah, but we are looking for a recent top to be retested, which would be somewhere close to 0.77, 0.78. And that is on a 1 hour chart. Now take the same on a 4 hour. What do you actually see? If you actually manage to watch this price action showing you a clear signal of, yeah, I'm trying to break higher because I tried to retest that. If you have watched our yesterday's video, you already know what we discussed here. You already know the short-term thought process which we shared. We talked about the possibility of this resistance being retested. Today, when you come back to the market, what happens? We were here last day, right? We were at the point and it was like, we're about to break higher. But I told you guys, it's going to break low. It's going to come back down to test this level. We did that. We came there. We retested that level. We had volatility. Now it's showing you different candlestick pattern, which you should be familiar with. But if you actually understand the importance of that particular candle, it's bullish. When that happens at a support, it is bullish. So on a 4-hour chart, you're getting the same notion which the 1 hour chart is conveying, that I'm becoming bullish, I'm trying to break higher. But that's a micro move which we actually saw. This is that level which you are breaking higher. The next resistance is here. That's a 4-hour chart. And why is that important? Because that actually shows you a little bit more clarity. It kind of gives you a bit more perspective in a proper thought process, giving you the idea of the MACD is about to cross higher on an hourly. Great. We need the hourly to match up with the 4-hour. And that shows like, okay, if that's to happen and I'm to cross back to the upside, the daily should be bullish, right? And you're going to look at the daily and it is still bullish. It has not shown any kind of divergence to the downside. It's not showing you that I'm reversing. It's still an inside candle. It's still inside that macro range. And then you zoom out and you understand the fact that, yeah, we talked about all this. Great. This is holding on to this particular level, which actually means you're looking for massive upside. Now, the market is still the same. Bitcoin came down, hit this level of support. We haven't actually broken that to the downside. So for the time being, becoming bearish may not be the right thing. And that's one of the area where when you actually see these kind of things, you'll be concerned because some of these accounts are like, with massive followers, right? And you're like, okay, maybe they're doing something right. For sure. That's the thought process. And then you actually see Cred sharing his thought process. It's even bigger account, right? And I'm like, okay, what's his thought process like? It's showing you, okay, the first two bottoms which you showed is a double bottom. Okay. The next one creates a higher high, which is a textbook pattern. Great. However, this one which he represents here is a lower low. So yeah, that doesn't make much sense there, right? When you're looking at the trend, when you're looking at this fractal, it kind of becomes hard, right? So that is where I agree with Cred here. And that is one of the reasons why those who are legit and those who have been there for a very long time, showing their credibility, are now focusing on higher price point for XRP. Do we really want to miss that? I don't think we will do that because we are going to focus on the on-chain data. We are going to focus on the news, the narrative, and the volume. Because when these kind of things comes out, I kind of agree with here, the Black Swan capitalist, shout out to him. Because at this point, it kind of looks like the Fed looking at a possible digital dollar. But they're showing you logo of Ripple, not XRP, right? Not XRP. And that's where I'm like, okay, maybe. But think about this. If it's digital dollar and you're transferring inside United States from dollar to dollar, do you really need a bridge asset? I get confused, right? So the thought process of this can be taken as a conspiracy. It's okay. There is still a possibility because the media machine is trying to put that narrative in you, right? But then we do our research and use our brain and think it doesn't make much sense there, right? We'll have to see. And yes, we do have assets which are standing out there with outstanding fundamentals. A lot of people were not happy with this asset, but if you look at what just happened with the recent price action, you know it is following XRP. You really don't want to make a mistake. And one of the reasons why we look at the short-term movements is like we really want to see whether the short-term breakouts are holding or it's faking out and going back down. Earlier today, what happened is that the price faked out. It showed I'm breaking higher, but then what happened? Immediately, it got rejected to the downside. Right now, you watch that it is breaking to the upside. It is holding on to that trend line, which is positive. So if we get a break above the moving average, that's going to change things into the positive narrative. Now, go back to a Hikinashi chart. You'll watch the hourly still below the 21-day moving average, and it is trying to get back up. You go on a 4-hour, you see, okay, we're just in a consolidation phase. It's nothing to worry about. Then you go on a daily and you're like, okay, we're still on a green structure here, which usually happens after a big pop. What do I mean by that? Say you go back here, look at this range. You actually see the price action popping. Great. Then what happens? You consolidate. During that consolidation, it kind of feels like, okay, it's done. We are not going up. At one point, it kind of shows you I'm dropping. But the end of the day, the candle closes in green, maintains the level of bullishness, and that's one of the best benefit with Hikinashi on a daily. Until that shows you a red candle, stay positive. Stay positive if that's your time horizon. If you are a weekly guy and you're going on a weekly chart and you're saying, boom, that's just 2 weeks of bullishness, and I'm looking at this chart and I'm going nuts because when this happens, usually it pops through the roof. The weekly, we still have time for this week. We're still waiting here to see how this week ends. Perfect. We are in the all-time high zone for like this year, last year. It's actually a huge thing to think about, right? When you look at the 2022 and the 2023 till now, it was not that bullish. However, you saw the price action becoming massively bullish. You saw the price action breaking through a massive resistance zone with high level of strength here. So the RSI now agree with the price action. Now, if you want a bit more confirmation, go on a Ranko on a daily. Even the weekly shows here. Now, Ranko actually only considers the price movement, right? It kind of reduces the noise and gives you a better perspective, which shows you I'm moving higher, right? It's showing you I'm still at 0.72, but I think I'm going to go to the upside. Now, you zoom in on a daily and it shows you like I'm riding higher, I'm trending higher. I do correct back down to the moving average. And that's where the moving average thought process of 0.6, 0.67 comes into picture. Now, when you're using Ranko on a daily, you also use Hikinashi on a 4-hour to confirm the trend. If the 4-hour is actually showing you red, now wait for the support. One of the primary stuff there would be here. That's your support. If you manage to hold that level of support, which is 21-day moving average on a daily chart, that's somewhere close to 0.6. Now that becomes valid. Why? This consolidation can happen. This is what's happening. The moving average come back up, the price hits that range and you bounce. The next bounce, say price action goes to $1.5, $1.8. If you really missed taking profit last time at $1.9 and this time at $1.8, you're tempted, do take some profits. First thing to understand here is your psychology, your emotions should be balanced. If not, you're going to make a lot more mistakes in the market and you really don't want to do that because this time around, there may not be another going back into the market until next 3, 4, 5 years. And you really don't want to miss this opportunity just because you become a little bit more emotional, just because you misread the charts. That's one of the reasons why I give you my thought process as much as possible. Say you zoom in on these charts, what do you see? A higher high. It's a weekly chart. Remember, it's a weekly chart. And The RSI shows you I don't agree with the price. The price starts to correct back down. It didn't drop back down. It consolidated. The time-based correction happened. Great. Now, you can break that down into different view. You can go on a daily chart and say like, okay, I'm looking for a little bit more accuracy. I want to stay much more accurate. Then when you actually go on, you actually see these divergence forming and the price action saying, strength is reducing. If you want to take profit, do take that. What happens? The price come back down. It do bounce to give you another exit, gives bulls another opportunity to take that profit, but sellers come in and load the positions up there. This is what happened back in the day here. The price action was going up. Now, this is not a one-off. That's why I'm repeating this. This is not a one-off. You go back in history and you see this happening all the time. And on the opposite side too, you get the same notion. So this time around, you don't have to go make a mistake. When you see the divergence, you are sure that something is changing. The trend in the market is changing. And we just saw that here, which was one of the primary reasons why I was super bullish for XRP from this time. We were becoming super bullish. Now, we confirm that we are bullish. There is no doubt that we are going to the downside. And if you actually look at the pattern, that was a reversal signal. You broke to the upside. That's massive. But what went wrong? It all happened in just one day. With the announcement from the court, it blew up. Now we are waiting here to see a retracement to the moving average and a bounce back up. So you watch the short-term fluctuations, you watch the market, and you see a lot of opportunities. And if you are not looking to trade on a regular basis, one of the best thing to do is to buy, to hold. Maybe you're buying $25 a week. That's how I started back in 2016. Maybe you're buying $500 a day. Maybe you're buying $10,000 a week. It all depends on your liquidity provisions, right? But if you really don't want that money for next 6 months, this is different, because last time when we are talking about such a high prices, you're still consolidating inside the accumulation zone and people are really depressed. And that amount of depression doesn't allow you to think about higher price points. It really does not give you that point. When we were talking about the double bottom on a monthly, weekly structure breaking higher, a lot of people were having hard time believing it. Why? Because we went through so hard time, because it's so depressing in the market, and that's usually how things turn. And yeah, trend lines do work. When we actually see these trend lines break higher, that means something, right? That does mean something. And when a chartered market technician is actually giving you a trend line, now one of the reasons I'm highlighting this is the fact that I learned a lot from this guy back in 2016, 2017. So, there is a lot to learn from those who have stayed in the market. Maybe he's in the market from last 20 years, 15 years. And that's the level of experience which you really want to learn from. And that's how you improve yourself. And when you're improving yourself in the market, what happens? The market starts to reward you. When the market is showing you, I'm breaking higher here, my first primary target, at least the way I'm looking at it, is this. I don't want to miss this. Now, that's conservative view of looking at it. Then, if you want to see the next level of target, you should be a little bit optimistic, where you take the actual targets from the top to the bottom, where you see how high and how low the price action actually went. Now you see a 10x. So 8 to 10x after the break is a decent move to the upside. What does that mean? Where do that take us? 8x of that movement would be, from the current perspective, say from 0.7, it's another 6x. That's a decent move. Great. And then you look for the 10x after the breakout, and that takes you somewhere close towards from the current price of a 8x. So 6 to 8x from the current price is still going to be just the first pattern-based target. And you would definitely see a lot of people taking profit. Now, on the macro scale, I would actually like to ask you, there will be a lot of different opinion in the market. But ask yourself, do you see this as a long-term support resistance zone? If you do, then ask, you can actually optimize that. You can say, okay, this is a resistance and this turned out to be a support. So I'll follow that instance, right? You'll actually literally say, okay, this was the resistance before, that turned out to be a support here. So I'm looking at that level. It turned out to be a resistance. It's acting as a support. That's great. Fine. These are outliers for you, right? That's a standard deviation. Fine. Now, this would be another standard deviation for you at the top, which is like $3.8, and the $2 comes in at the peak. Now, literally zoom out and ask the same exact question to yourself. Did we see something similar historically in this asset where you go up massively, which is not a small move, that's a giant move there. Back in the market, crypto was not thought as a legit one. Even right now, a lot of people don't even think about crypto in a positive way. So that consolidation happens, and then after that consolidation, you pop, and that pop is a crazy pop. Now look at what happens after that. This is more interesting than anything else. Why? After this pop, you just get this level of consolidation. So if that's the history, and as we learn, the longer the consolidation, the higher the pop, this should be even bigger than what we have seen in the last run. And that last move was 700x. So are we really about to see a 700x from here? I really don't know, but I would say one thing. Watch for the divergence. If the divergence agrees, then that's the top. Take the profit. Most likely, the weekly divergence will give you a clear perspective of take your profits, move out. And when that happens, I'm going to actually keep following all these assets, not just XRP, all these other assets where it's actually moving up, giving you the right opportunity. We had these calls, right? The DYDX, the 1 inch, and right now you see 1 inch is down, then you get confused. Oh, that's down. But if you actually look at that, it's up 47%. Why is it down? Because it actually went up, it hit that target, and people took profit. Because if you know that target, now you're having the benefit. Because the market, if $2 is your target, you're taking profit at 1.85. You're safe. Others are waiting for 2 or thinking, okay, maybe it's going to go to 2.2. So that's something important. And if you're interested in that kind of objective, look for the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So guys, I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.